Greetings, dear ones. There are no rejections in the universe, only redirections. Or, in other words, there are no rejections in life, but only redirections. So, relax. Now, what does this mean? Little elaboration on this statement. This statement has been a part of my experience these moments, these days, because in moments, in the days of my awareness, when I'm looking deep into my journey, what I've lived on this earth till now in this physical plane, I noticed that all the rejections, so-called rejections, which I was considering to be rejected in certain areas or arenas of life, are actually not rejections. But when I look at it deeply in awareness, I discover that they were only redirections. They were not actually rejections. Rejections happen to unconscious beings, to people who are not in awareness, who are not aware of their lives, about themselves and their surroundings. Rejection is a word for them. Redirection is a word for the awakened, those who are more conscious about themselves, about the life journey, those who are more in awareness about life itself. So this has been a part and parcel of my life, this statement. So today I find that all those moments when I thought it was rejection, it happened because I was in an unconscious state of consciousness. Unawareness, there was non-awareness there. And that is the reason my experiences and my being resonated it as rejection. Anything that did not happen or anything that did not vibe with me or any failures in life was considered by my consciousness as rejection when I was in unconscious state of being. But the moment awareness, the awakening happened and the awareness started filling in, when I look now in awareness, I see that it was never rejection, they were only redirections. Every time there was a failure, every time there was a so-called rejection, I see that my life was redirected to a different circumstance or towards a different conclusion. Now, when I say I here, I'm just not talking about this personal being here. I'm talking about you. This I is representing the we. So you can consider this I as yourself when you are listening to this. So all those moments I was rejected, I was actually redirected, which led to different conclusions and different routes, which led to different kind of destination. And the sum total of all the rejections, so-called rejections, that I have had in my unconscious state of living, I see that it has brought me to a certain kind of conclusion. It concluded me towards a certain destination, which is, you can say, where I am right now. So all the sum total of rejection is the conclusion of where you stand right now. Now, rejection, I am saying, unconscious state of being. But after the awakening, when the rejections started becoming redirections in my awareness, I became aware that they were not rejection, but now these are redirections. In the present tense I am saying, because once you become awakened and become aware of this, you start living that experience. So I am saying, now I started becoming aware that this is not a rejection, but this is a redirection. So in full consciousness, I know that when I know that this is a redirection, I know that it is going to lead me to somewhere positive, to somewhere that is meant to be for my highest good, to some destination that is meant to be for my highest good. Now, why this difference? I just want to explain this. Why do I feel that it is leading only to the highest existence? While the awakening, or before the awakening, when we consider rejection as a part of our dictionary, the word rejection, you can see the word itself says I'm rejected. So it is an opposition. It is like you are bouncing from that place, and the idea of life that time becomes that you have bounced, you have been thrown away, you have been ditched or dumped, and then you have been bounced from there, you are bouncing from there, and you do not know where you are heading. You are just bounced from that dead end, or that door that closed right in front of your face, the door that was slammed on your face. Now I'm saying any life situations. It could be a rejection in a job offer, it could be a rejection in a love affair, it could be rejection in a certain responsibility, whatever that is, it means. When we are in that state of consciousness, when we consider it as rejection, immediately what happens is we become the victim there. And when you become a victim, you do not know where the next move is going to lead you to, because you are now more engrossed on the the word reject, being rejected, the experience, the feeling, the emotions of being rejected. So it is a feeling of being dejected, the dejection. It's a disappointment, and in disappointment it's the feeling of that you wanted something but you have not got it, so it's a failure. And in that, what can happen is only a victim conscious being, state of being. And in that state, you get bounced, you get tossed about in life. When you get tossed and bounced, it's very obvious, tossing and bouncing, there is no proper destination. You do not know where this is going to lead you. So obviously the word dejection also says that you feel dejected and you do not know what the next consequences is going to be, because you are now disappointed. You were supposed to be happy if that thing would have been accepted, or if that would have been your path or journey. But now you are disappointed because that is not the case where you actually wanted to be. So you want to be somewhere, but you are not in that place, and you feel rejected. So now whichever place other than that you look at will be a place of uncertainty. You do not know, because that is not where you wanted to be. You wanted to be there, where you are not there now anymore. So that feeling of incompletion and the feeling of remorse comes in, and then comes in that feeling of not knowing what next. So in this state of consciousness, what happens is we end up creating uncertainty. We do not know which path to take next because we feel bounced and we feel tossed about. That's a victim mentality. So there is no state of consciousness where you are holding something that for your ultimate good. That consciousness, that state of consciousness is not there in your being, that or some positivity or some enthusiasm or some motivation or some knowing that you are going somewhere that is going to be beneficial for you, because now you are believing that this was supposed to be beneficial, now it is not. If it is not, then automatically your subconscious, your deep inner being is saying that wherever I go apart from this is not going to be my journey, or this is not where I'm supposed to be. So when you go into that kind of a mode of being, you attract and you manifest that kind of the next step wherever you get bounced or tossed, and obviously the results are going to be that way. So this is what I mean. The rejection can create such kind of circumstances, but when you awaken and you come to knowing that, okay, there is no rejection, I am not here, or this arena has not been opened for me, or this particular thing has not happened in my life, because I know I am vibrating at a higher state of consciousness, and since I am in that state of consciousness, I know that my being is attracting only that which is for my highest good. And when I am vibrating in that kind of a consciousness, and if I get bumped somewhere, or I get so called rejected somewhere, I do not take it harshly, for I know that my being, my state of consciousness, is doing that. My state of consciousness is actually not making me go in that direction, but actually it is giving me a redirection to where I am supposed to be, to what is supposed to happen for me for my highest good, because now it is an awakened state of consciousness. So, the difference is, for an unawakened being, they create circumstances which is kind of rejection, and so the following consequences is always dejection. But an awakened being in awareness is already contemplating on only higher state of consciousness, higher state of being, and there is a certain kind of surrender towards whatever is happening in life. And in that state of consciousness, even the most difficult failures or challenges or obstacles or rejections in life will not be considered as negative. It will be taken in high stride, even if there is pain and suffering in it. Pain and suffering are coming from those aspects of us which has not yet fully awakened. When we get awakened, not 100% we awaken. If 100% we awaken, then we are enlightened, self-realized. A certain part of us, a certain consciousness of us gets awakened, and a certain being of us, a part of us, is in that state of consciousness. But we also do carry the ego consciousness, which is a lower state of being. The ego state of consciousness is where the rejections happen. So if a man is not awakened, he is always living in ego consciousness, the body consciousness, the gross consciousness. So in that state, what will happen is the rejection will be very much taken negatively. But a person who is awakened is no more in that state of consciousness. His being is no more in that ego consciousness. A large part of him, or a major part of him, or an active part of his consciousness is reverberating higher and not in the ego consciousness, even though he has a certain aspect or ratio of ego consciousness in him. So when the feeling of rejection happens, and if one is in higher state of awareness means you are shifting from the ego consciousness and you're shifting into awareness, you're shifting into higher state of consciousness. So if you have shifted into awareness, you are already in that state of consciousness, and that state of consciousness cannot give you the feeling of rejection, but it will give you the feeling of redirection, a very positive vibe. And in that vibe, when you know whatever is happening for a highest good, you end up consciously and subconsciously creating only that which is for your highest good. This is how the redirections happen to the ultimatum, whatever is the highest good, the ultimate good for your being or your karmic pattern of life, your journey of life, your completion of this particular human life. It will give you a redirection in that zone. So when you constantly live in this, eventually you will start eradicating that ego consciousness, which takes all these obstacles as rejections, and eventually you will start building it up into something that is positive for your journey. And this is how this is technically explained as surrender. The people in higher states of consciousness who walk in surrender, you have seen there are many high state of conscious beings, like even saints or mystics. If you look at them, even though they have challenges, even though they might be having some kind of pain or suffering, because there are certain aspects of them which might be suffering, but a large part of them are liberated, and they are not allowing that suffering to feel that they are not allowing that being to take over that experience as a rejection. They are constantly moving as a redirection. So if this does not work, they will move in this direction, and with ease and with grace. A person who is not awakened, if they bounce somewhere, they might sit there for some time. They might be confused now which way to take, which path to take, whether to go back also. Or they might sit there itself confused. Or they might get tossed here and there in confusion, wandering, aimless wandering. All this happens in that state of being, that state of consciousness. But an awakened being, when there is a bump, there is an obstacle, he might fall down, but he will immediately walk in an automatic direction without hesitating much. There is an inner being that is guiding, a guiding system, because now he is in the surrender mode. He does not switch on his mind, or in other words, he does not switch on the ego consciousness. Mind is in the ego consciousness. He goes by the heart. He is led by the heart. He is led by his soul. He is led by his instincts. He is led by his intuition. So whenever that bounce happens, automatic, there is a fall and there is a getting up and there is a walking. It might be right, left, wherever they feel intuitively connected. But when they walk, wherever they walk, they are again walking with positive steps. Knowing that, this has not happened, maybe it's this way. Even if we go further and it doesn't happen, there is another redirection. It keeps redirecting. This is how the law of attraction, if you see, it's a guiding system. Because every decision, every choice you make has a conclusion. Every single thought has a conclusion. Because the choice and the selection that you make, the major decisions that you make, come from your choices. Choices come from the thoughts that you have. So whatever your thoughts are, depending on that you make choices, then you make decisions, and according to that decision there is a conclusion. Are you getting it? So the originator is the thought. Every thought has a conclusion, and we are having countless thoughts every day. That means every thought has a direction in a certain way. Every thought is provoking you to take a certain decision and thus end up in a certain conclusion. So every moment you are creating a different destination. Do you get that? With every thought you are actually clicking a different destination, because let us say you have 10 thoughts and all these 10 thoughts are in different 10 directions. Suppose you have this one thought with 10 different directions and you choose the third one. You start moving in that. If you choose the third one, the third has got many plus and minus, and it goes and has a conclusion. Conclusion every day. Every day you are supposed to reach in this particular point, after a week in this particular point, after a month in this particular point, after a lifetime in this particular point, after multiple lifetimes in this particular point. That one thought. The third one. Suppose you choose the 8th one. Immediately the graphs change. From here it moves to this 8th, and the 8th, if you see, immediately there is a line connected. Where does this lead you at this moment, at the next moment, at the next hour, at the next day, at the next week, next month, next year, next life, whole life, next life, immediately. So you can see the grids that are created, invisible grids, countless, infinite. With every thought there is a direction happening. There is a direction. So if a certain direction is obstructing, or it doesn't allow you to go forth certain direction, you shift from this direction to another direction. That is called redirection. Oh, good. This is a good example. So a redirection has happened automatically. So you are redirected, and the moment you are redirected, immediately that graph is created to where you are going to end. Now, when your state of awareness is very high, and you are in that state of being that wherever I am going, or whatever is happening in my daily life, I am living in total high awareness. So that will automatically be all guided. My intuition, my whole being will be guided towards the highest and the best possible route for me to reach my destination. So it is an automatic system that is guiding me. Who is guiding? Not me, not the I, not the ego, because I have shifted from the ego consciousness to shifting into awareness. I have shifted into awareness. When I am in awareness, something else, that pure awareness, that consciousness, that being is taking care of my life radar. And then that guiding system takes me. So that is called surrender. I go with the flow. I drop my mind, I drop my ego, and go with the flow. So when I go with the flow, what happens? When a river is flowing, watch this carefully. When a river is flowing, and it comes across a stone, it will not stop there. It will not try to fight the stone. It will turn and take the best possible path, the path of least resistance. Water goes at the path of least resistance, where there are no more stones or boulders and all that. It will take wherever there is a little slope. Automatically, nobody guides it. There is no decisions being made there. Natural nature takes care of it, and you go with the flow. So that river is redirected. It is not rejected and dejected, it is redirected. So the river is always flowing in a certain direction, and if that direction is not fulfilling its purpose for some reason, it means nature knows where that river is needed to flow, and where the river is not needed to flow, there will be an obstacle, there will be a boulder, because that is not the highest point of where the river has to flow. So nature creates obstacles itself. What is a stone? It is nature. Boulders, nature. Mountain, cliff, nature. Nature has only created that. So when that is created, automatically the river takes its own course. And what happens is, river goes on flowing and flowing and flowing and does not cease till it reaches the destination. It might have even detours. We might have detours which we feel, oh my God, we have taken a complete wrong direction, or we have been delayed. Many times in my life I see people complaining that if this would not have happened, I would have reached here. If this would not have been a part of my life experience, I would have gone somewhere else. We do not understand. These are called detours. Detours are a total different route which we feel, that extra mile is not needed. But nature knows the best. I am talking about the people in awareness. Nature knows the best. There could have been much more mishaps or difficulties or disadvantages if what you call the easier path is, if you go in that, there could have been bigger hurdles. So the nature knows what is best for you. So there is a boulder there, there is an obstacle there. Automatically there is a redirection. So this is the guidance system of the cosmos, of the cosmic intelligence, which is far more superior than human intelligence. So this is what I meant by, in the universe, there are no rejections, there are only redirections. So relax. In other words, in life, there are no rejections, there are only redirections. So relax. This relax is for people who are being aware, who have shifted into consciousness, shifted into awareness, and living in that state, because only in that state can you be in the surrender mode and go with the flow. And only then can these experiences not be actual rejections, but they can be redirections. If not in awareness, then it has to be rejections, because the state of consciousness is negative. There is no hope, there is no faith, there is no trust. And when there is no trust, you are thrust into other aspects which is taken over by your ego consciousness. The decision maker is the ego consciousness, and the ego consciousness is always vibrating lower. It is never in match with the cosmic intelligence. The cosmic intelligence goes somewhere else. Our ego consciousness takes us into some other directions, and when we become the doer, when we become the decision makers, when we take on our lives completely without any kind of awakened consciousness in it, then we are bound to make more mistakes. And those rejections also, trust me, are not punishments for the unawakened. They are not punishments, though they are rejections. They are rejections. They will make you feel defeated, failure, and they will put you into maybe even worse situations, because it can lead you to somewhere worse also. Wrong paths, wrong directions can be taken in rejections. But then, day one, even in that, the highest good, what happens is, those lead you to more tougher life circumstances. That means they lead you to more lessons to learn. Why? Because this particular rejection was not understood as a lesson. It was not taken as a lesson. It was taken as a failure. So, it is an expression to the nature or the cosmos saying that I have not learned my lesson here. I am still in that, rooted in my ego consciousness. So, indirectly, I am telling life that I have not learned this, so I have not overcome it. And if I have not overcome it, I need another chance to learn this lesson. And so you get rejected and you get dejected. You are put into those situations which might be even worse, or repeated experience of that, which then a man howls and says, my life has been totally bombarded and I have been tossed from here and there, never understanding it is their own consciousness which is doing it. So if we have more lessons in life, please become aware and see if we are asking for those lessons. If we are asking for those lessons, they will sound, they will seem, they will feel like rejection. That is when these lessons are being. But in a state of awareness, if your consciousness is risen, every moment you are ready to learn lessons. There is an openness. Okay, what is it that I need to learn? I know I have taken birth on this planet to resolve and to learn those lessons. So I am open to those lessons. I don't run away from them. I don't try to escape those lessons. I cannot escape. If you escape, there is a rejection. If you take it in your stride and you learn the lessons, you overcome, then there is no more rejection. It is only a redirection to a higher possibility, because now the cosmic intelligence says this one has learned the lesson, so they are done with this part of their game. Now they need to learn higher lessons or something better into whatever is pending. So life redirects you to the pending lessons, or maybe even higher, because if the lessons are learned faster, those kind of experiences don't come your way. Experiences only come your way when they need to give you a life experience as a lesson. But if you have taken in advance, and if you, with your wisdom, with your awareness, if you have learned a lot of things, like we share so much, learning from others' mistakes. So if you learn these things, if you are in a state of awareness that you know that, okay, there's a possibility, if this thing happens, this is the conclusion. So I do not want, because I understand, I can relate with this experience. And when I relate with this experience, I am telling to the cosmos, oh no, I know how it feels. And I know this lesson. So why would I take that route? And why would the cosmic intelligence give me that experience when I have already learnt it in my being? So in that state of consciousness, when we are open to learning all the time, from nature, from other beings, from other aspirants on the path, from so many things, like Lord Dattatreya had so many gurus. This is what it means, learning from everywhere. Because if you learn from everywhere in advance, life won't throw those experiences which you are supposed to learn. Otherwise, if we don't learn, there are more lessons. More lessons means the feeling of rejection, overcoming the hurdles, overcoming all these obstacles, and having redirections means higher state of consciousness, awareness, the path of awareness. So I hope I have been clear in this. I was right now prompted to make this much more detailed video on this. I thank whatever made me say this in so much clarity, because I could see while I was talking, there was crystal clear clarity flowing through me. So whatever guided me, I am in deep gratitude to that substance. Gurudev Sharanam, Guru Mandal Sharanam. So with any other insights that I can make, I'll come. But if you feel this can help somebody, please do share it with them. And please forward it to more people who need this. So with much divine love and light to all of you, stay blessed.